Number 5. In August 2014, 2 British helicopter pilots were suspended pending an investigation when they landed uninvited on the wrong oil platform in the middle of the ocean, 60 miles north of Aberdeen. Apparently, it can happen occasionally that a chopper lands on the wrong rig, but this mistake was peculiar because the platform where the helicopter was expected was 9 miles away, which is a big difference. When the Bond-operated S-92 chopper touched down on the ENSCO 120 jackup rig, since it wasn't expected, the crane movements hadn't been suspended, which is usually standard procedure. The rig's radio operator was so startled when he saw the chopper arrive, he said, "Can we help you?" And the pilots replied, "We appear to have landed on the wrong rig." It's a good thing nothing bad happened, but the pilots were clearly running on fumes that day. Number 4. In June 2012, a military cargo plane that typically requires a lot more than 3,500 feet for takeoff landed at Peter O. Knight Airport on Davis Islands near downtown Tampa, where the longest runway is only 3,580 feet long. According to reports, the pilots complained of fatigue, and that's why they landed the C-17 Globemaster III short of its MacDill destination. The plane had come from U.S. Central Command operations in Southwest Asia with 23 passengers and a crew of 19. Because the runway is so short at Peter O. Knight Airport, employees had to lighten the load of the 174-foot-long aircraft for it to leave Davis Island safely. Witnesses caught a caravan of military vehicles invading the runway to retrieve the crew and start hauling cargo away. Thank goodness the bulky plane was able to leave Davis Islands, hop over Hillsborough Bay, and land in MacDill, where it was originally supposed to land. It seems that this kind of mistake happens once in a while. The runways of MacDill, Peter O. Knight, and Tampa International Airport have sometimes been confused with one another, but between the three, MacDill has been the one with the most unscheduled landings. In 2004, in the same week, 2 planes landed there by mistake. Number 3. In January 2014, a similar incident happened in the United States when a Southwest Airlines Boeing 737 flight inbound for Branson Airport in Missouri ended up landing at the much smaller Graham-Clark Downtown Airport in Hillister, Missouri, about 7 miles away. It seems the pilots had programmed the plane to land in Branson, but were confused by the smaller airport's runway lights, thinking it was Branson's. The problem is, they landed the huge 737 with 124 passengers on board on a runway that was about half the length of the one that they should have landed on in Branson, prompting them to basically slam on the brakes to stop the plane from ending up in a ravine. Passengers reported the landing was pretty abrupt and that they could smell burnt rubber when the plane stopped, but they were lucky the incident didn't turn into a catastrophe. What's amazing in this story is that in this day and age, with sophisticated air traffic communication, you'd think somebody would have said something before the plane touched down, and that the computers used to program the flight would have manifested themselves too. Number 2. In July 2016, 100 passengers on board an Airbus A320 Delta flight en route to Rapid City, South Dakota in the United States had a frightful experience when their plane landed unexpectedly at an Air Force base 5 miles north of their plane's intended destination and was stormed by armed military personnel. It seems the radar approach control had given the Delta flight instructions and pointed out both runways, the one in Rapid City and the one on the Air Force base. General Boswell of the Ellsworth Air Force Base said that this was a gross breach of security that presented a potential threat to both his airmen and their resources. You really have to wonder about the pilot's competence in an incident like this one, because this could have turned into a major disaster. Number 1. In early March 2015, an AirAsia X flight from Sydney to Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia was diverted to Melbourne, Australia because the captain incorrectly entered the plane's location in the navigation system, and when the plane took off, it immediately started experiencing technical difficulties. Many of the plane's key navigation systems, including the autopilot, were thrown out of commission, and the plane couldn't return to Sydney because of low cloud and rain that hindered the pilot's vision of the runway. And all these problems apparently occurred because there was one misplaced digit in the captain's entry. The plane's flight crew was manually guided by air traffic controllers and was able to land in Melbourne 2 hours after takeoff. This type of incident has happened twice before at Sydney Airport. In July 2011, it was a Philippine airline Airbus A340 that needed to head back to the airport for the same reasons. And in July 2007, an Airbus A320 was forced to land right back where it had started.